Previously on Unscripted.
I really hope, and I'm not going to mention his name, I really hope that guy on the Bruins that's always on Team Canada is not there.
You don't even want to say his name. It's like a Harry Potter situation. You can't say the villain's name.
You're listening to Unscripted with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
Okay, Skip, so today we're going to talk about a show called Daisy Jones and the Six. But before we get to that, one quick thing and one not so quick thing. I need to correct myself from last episode. We were talking about the dearth of Canadian goaltenders in the NHL or in the world,
there
really.
is. I like the word dearth.
I hope I used it properly. I'm sure the grammar police will come at us. But I had mentioned the goalie on the Edmonton Oilers. I referred to him as Curtis Skinner. Curtis Skinner is actually somebody that I work with. The actual goalie on the Edmonton Oilers is Stuart Skinner. So if my coworker was the goalie for Canada, that would be a big problem.
Well, and you know what? I didn't even notice because, I have no idea what's going on in the NHL. I've barely watched any games this year. I think I'm failing as, a Canadian citizen. Yeah.
Same with me. Anyway, something happened a couple of months ago that bugged me a little bit, and I want to tell you about it.
Things that bug me?
The member of parliament in our riding retired. I didn't know that she had retired. I didn't really care that she had retired, but she retired. We received a letter in the mail. I guess everybody in the riding, that's a few thousand people, received a letter in the mail, a one-page letter, bilingual, letting us know that that she retired. And it's basically like 2 or 3 sentences. Following the resignation of Ms. Bennett, the party whip will supervise the staff retained, and the constituency office will continue to provide services to constituents, especially in accessing federal programs. And then it goes on how you can reach them if you want to reach them by phone, by mail, by email, whatever.
Okay.
So this annoyed me because I don't know that a letter was necessary for this. In fact, I don't think a letter was necessary. How much paper did they waste? How much money did they waste mailing all these letters? It wasn't really necessary. Yeah. And so it annoyed me.
The thing about mail, when you're talking about mail, it's mostly for old people.
I get that, but it gets worse. So that was on January 22nd of this year.
Right.
So as if that wasn't annoying enough, on February 13th of this year, we get another letter. It's basically the identical letter, but it's amended. And the amendments are highlighted in yellow. I think you can see some yellow highlights here.
Yeah, I could see, yeah.
The only difference between the first letter and the second letter is the address of where you can write letters to. And the difference is not even that huge. Originally, it's 103 Holly Street, Suite 40. And now it's 40 Holly Street, Suite 103. So they sent a second letter to correct their mistake from the first letter.
So double postage. They spent a lot of money on stamps.
And how many trees did they have to chop down for all the paper?
Right. Your retired member of parliament is single-handedly keeping Canada Post alive and kicking, right?
Unreal. Anyway, I went on long enough about that.
These are the kind of things that bother you, right? You get a letter in the mail, and then most people, I would have got that letter in the mail, I would have just thrown it straight in the recycling bin. I wouldn't even looked at it. I wouldn't even read it, to be honest. You have a different approach. Automatically, you were like, why the hell are they sending me a letter? This is your thought process.
Because I don't get hardly any snail mail, and I should not get any snail mail. Like if Canada Post and the U.S. Postal Service and all these other postal services closed tomorrow, it really would not impact me.
Speaking of mail, though, did you hear that thing where in the United States you can sign up?
Actually, I did hear that, but go on.
You can get this thing where if you sign up, you can get an email with pictures, a preview of the letters that you're going to get the next day in your mailbox. So the day before your mail's delivered, you know what's going to be delivered, right?
It's available in Canada as well.
It is? I want to get that.
I got a thing in the mail from Canada Post telling me that I could sign up for this feature if I wanted to. However, be forewarned. Like if someone's sending you a birthday card from wherever, you're not going to hear about that. But if someone's sending you a bill or a government, like your tax return, that you'll get.
But who cares about that? Who cares about that stuff? I want to know when I'm getting the preview should be for like individualized personal mail, not for the bills.
I think it only works for bills and government stuff. Like if I sent you a letter saying, "Hey Skip, happy birthday," I don't think it would tell you that. I don't think so. Anyway, you can Google it and you can sign up for it. It's actually, do you have to go fetch your mail from that box?
Yeah, I don't have a mailbox like in my house,
right?
Like a slot. We have like a community mailbox, which is just like a 1 minute walk around the corner with like 100 boxes in there for everybody on the street.
So this feature might be good for you because you don't want to have to go there if there's nothing there. But for someone who gets mail delivered straight to their door, I don't. But for someone who does, I don't know why you would need that feature.
I love it. I'm gonna check this out as soon as we finish recording this podcast today. It's the first thing I'm gonna do.
Okay, so do we have any listener mail? Speaking of mail.
Mailbag.
I've never been so excited about mail.
Could you imagine if we actually got like snail mail from a listener?
I would love it. So the mailbag, which actually isn't a bag, it's not even an inbox. It's just a combination of Facebook posts, emails, Twitters, tweets.
Text messages.
I don't even know what they called anymore. Yeah, anything like that. Text messages, exactly. So our good friend Jesse out in Dallas, Texas, we haven't heard from him in a while.
Well, he might be going to March Madness because it's happening in his city.
Yes. He says, I've been crazy busy with my new job, so I've not had a chance to comment on episodes lately. He says, I love Severance and look forward to second season. Lessons in Chemistry is on my to-watch list. As far as one-word song titles goes, here's my top 5, and 3 of them came to mind immediately. Yesterday by the Beatles. One by U2. You had that one. Elephant by Jason Isbell, country singer. I don't know if you know him, Josh, but Ghost by Bruce Springsteen. And then the final one was a toss-up between Dreams by the Cranberries or Popular from the musical Wicked. Since we have a Wicked movie coming out this year, I went with Popular.
Okay, great. Thanks for the mail.
Stephanie from Montreal replying about the one-word song titles. This is so hard to choose. I have a ton on my big list, old songs and new. I made an effort not to pick Bruce Springsteen. Here goes. Tilted by Christine and the Queens. Are you aware of this band? Do you know them?
I'm not aware.
Me neither. Crazy by Seal, Bad, U2, Landslide, Fleetwood Mac. Mandika, Sinead O'Connor.
Great song.
Yeah, I heard it on the radio last week and I was like, oh yeah, this is Sinead O'Connor's other song. Breathe by Faith Hill. Kaylee by Marillion. That would not have applied. That's a person's name. We excluded those.
Right.
And Winter by Tori Amos.
Okay.
Derek from Montreal. Great lists, and thanks for reminding me about the song Sway, which is now on heavy rotation on my phone. I was happy to hear that.
Look at that.
Here are my top 5 heavily influenced by the greatest half decade in music history, 1992 to 1997. So Derek's just created his own category that we can talk about. Half decade.
Okay.
Well, we've done our favorite songs from 92 and 93, right? So
we did 94, which by the way...
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
This is the 30th anniversary of 1994, and there's a lot of radio stations and websites and podcasts that are doing, happy 30th anniversary to this band or this album or whatever. And everyone I hear so far is like, oh, I like that band. Oh, I like that album. So,
of course. So Derek's list is Creep by Radiohead, Drawer by Summer Camp. I don't even know that song. Mystify by INXS, Low by Cracker, and Dim by Dada. Do you know that song? I don't know that one either.
No, but I really do like the song Low by Cracker. It's a great song.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a while, actually. Mark from Philadelphia. Too many to choose from. What about Wonderwall by Oasis, Moondance by Van Morrison, Holiday by Green Day or Madonna, Landslide, Dreams, Money, Possession, Tempted, Roxanne, Creep, Alive, maybe it needs to be looked at by decade. Like, I mean, it's true. Part of the exercise for us with this topic was the list was massive.
Right. It
right?
was. Yeah.
So it was really just about narrowing down your list. In my case, I kind of tried to do like a theme. I did like artists that I don't talk about very often. And then we got a message from Jason from Montreal, who did his own little theme, which is to pay tribute to my favorite artists. So he actually like took some of his 5 favorite artists and hit his own list. So David Bowie, Heroes; Joe Jackson, Happy Land; Blue Rodeo, Disappear. Although I would say like Try, like for Blue Rodeo, that's the first song with one word that comes to mind for me. Talking Heads, Blind; and Brian Ferry, Desdemona. Awesome list, Jason. I appreciate all the mails, messages, tweets, faxes, letters, notes from all our listeners. I think I finally figured it out, Josh. It came to me like in a fever dream, like last week. For 6 years, I've been trying to think of like what could be a good name for our fans, our dedicated listeners. Like we never could, a funny name, like I don't know. You don't listen to the Kelsey podcast, but they're called the 92 Percenters, the fans, and Taylor Swift has the Swifties, and so I think I finally got it. I think our fans are the unscripters. Do you think can you get down with that?
I'm good with that. We're not as big as Taylor Swift or Travis Kelce or any of the people you mentioned. So, don't we have to earn that first?
We do, but I mean, we have this dedicated little group of people that really listen. So we can give them a little name.
Okay, we'll be right back after this to talk about Daisy Jones and the Six.
You're listening to Unscripted.
Are you taking a month-long vacation in the stratosphere and you know how hard it is to hold your breath? Are you the cosmic kid in full costume dress? You've got a nice little place in the podcast universe with Set Listing Bruce. Set Listing Bruce is your podcast for all things Bruce Springsteen fandom. We discuss his music, we talk about his tour, and we also talk to fans of other musicians and share their story of their passion, their fandom, and the way that their favorite artist music makes them feel. Set Listing Bruce, a Bruce Springsteen fan podcast, is available wherever you find podcasts. Remember, there is magic in the night.
And now, back to Unscripted.
Okay, Skip, we're back. So I think months ago, I had suggested to you that we should talk about this show. You actually watched the show more than a year ago, I think.
It's probably a year ago. When I was doing my notes on this, I really had to think back to everything. I watched a bunch of clips on YouTube to remember everything, yeah.
You're the one who told me about the show. I didn't even know it existed until you mentioned it to me. I was excited because when you told me about it, it reminded me a little bit of the way you described it. It reminded me a little bit of Almost Famous, which wasn't a show, but was a movie.
Well, I mean, there's similarities, right? Because, so first of all, spoilers.
Right.
Whenever we're doing a show, an episode on a particular show or movie, we're assuming you've watched it. Yeah, I mean, it's a 1970s. It's set in like 1970s LA, right? It's like the rock and roll scene, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, sex, all this crazy excess. When I first saw the trailer for this, I was like, oh my God, I gotta watch this. This is gonna be one of my favorite shows of all time. Like, it's everything I love, right? It's like music, it's this documentary style, like a band, like everything about it appeals to like the stuff that I really like. And don't get me wrong, I do like this show. Like, I do like it. But I think it's like with anything, it's like there's expectations. And I think my expectations were so high that when I watched it, I was like, like, me, like, I love shows with music. I always think it's amazing. Like, they wrote a whole album. Like, the writers of this show wrote music. They had people you can actually download the actual album by the artist Daisy Jones and the Six, the album Aurora. There's even a deluxe version, and it's like as if they're a real band.
Speaking of that, actually, so they have become the first fictional band to top the iTunes charts with the release of the album Aurora. The album went straight to number 1.
The album of Aurora. It's not even real, you know? Like,
But it is real. Like, you can buy it.
but it is real because there are actually people singing it and you can listen to it. So music, you know, it is real. But like that being said, I love anything, movies, shows, anything with music is like, I love it. And usually like if I love the song, I'm going to get it on my phone. I'm going to listen to it over and over and over. Like I get obsessed with songs. I didn't have that feeling with any of the songs from Daisy Jones and the Six. I like the songs. You know, there's the song, you know, the one that you've seen all the trailers, which is, you know, Look at Us Now, right? It's like it's this big, it's their theme song basically. Like it's good. I like the songs, they're fine, but I didn't love the music as much as I thought I was gonna love the music. Same thing with the whole show. And don't get me wrong, I still really like the show, right?
Yeah, okay. So that's a fair assessment. I did really like the show. I was excited to see it. I also had some expectations.
Right.
I did like the documentary style that they used.
100%. I think that was a big part of it for me. The way it's like flashes forward and back, right? The clips of the future them talking about what happened in the past is really well done, you know?
Right. And I mean, you know, basically from the first episode that the band is going to break up. So you know that. But
Yeah.
but what you don't know, the viewer doesn't know, is who the interviewer is, and you don't find that out until the last episode.
Well, that's what I was going to say, and that's what I wrote down on my notes. Like, I don't know how many episodes. There's 10, right?
I think there's 10, yeah.
So from the first minute, you know that there's going to be a rise and fall, and there's going to be some kind of big, you know, they're going to be famous, and they're going to disappear. Like things are going to go badly. And then really, I mean, the best episode of the show is the last one, right? Because it's the big performance.
Everything's revealed. Actually, I think the second to last episode might have been the best episode for me. But okay.
Maybe, but like it's not just the reveal. There's like the big performance in Chicago that they've been alluding to the whole time, you know, in the clips and everything that happens. It's like it's this big explosion kind of them with their performance. And then of course the big reveal. I don't know, do you want to talk about the reveal right away? Like the reveal is the best part of the show. Like at that point, I had liked all the episodes, but then when you get to the reveal of it's their daughter that's doing the interviews, and that Camilla died, and then you know when she shows, I mean, I watched it this morning and I was like almost in tears, and like when she shows Daisy the camera, she's like, here, this is the interview of my mom. You know, she shows her the clip of Camilla saying, tell Daisy, you know, tell your dad to call Daisy and tell Daisy to answer, you know, that's amazing. Like, that's amazing. I have goosebumps right now talking about it right now to you.
Yeah. So that was good because, you know, you thought the whole time, oh, I know how this ends. I know how this ends. I know how this ends. But
Yeah.
you don't know how it ends, actually.
You actually have no idea.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Now, switching gears for a second here, as I was watching it, before I read anything about the show, before I did any research, as I was watching it, I'm thinking to myself, this band reminds me a little bit of Fleetwood Mac.
Well, I mean, it's clearly based on it.
Right. And then after doing the research, they basically, I mean, they didn't copy Fleetwood Mac, but they did.
No, they just took the idea.
Right. Right, because there was a book before. I didn't know there was a book. I didn't read the book. And the book...
The book is by the author Taylor Jenkins Reid, who has many books, and I think this is the most famous one that, you know, to become a big hit show. So
And I read that it was inspired by the Fleetwood Mac concert, The Dance, from 1997, which I think is sort of like a documentary about Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks and, you know.
the sound of the band Daisy Jones and the Six, they have a Fleetwood Mac sound, right?
Yes.
And that's because there's like a male singer and a female singer, like that. There's not many bands like that. So like, and it has that 70s California sound to it, you know, like it has a Fleetwood Mac feel. I mean, and then of course everybody knows like Fleetwood Mac Rumors, like their most successful album was written and performed all while like the band was basically like in turmoil because there was two couples within the band and they were both breaking up, right? So similar to this show, right? Exactly like in Daisy Jones, right? You have the two couples and it's not working. But I mean, the difference is Fleetwood Mac went on to perform and make a bajillion albums after Rumors too, right? And like,
and this band lasted what, 2 years?
Not even. Like it was it. They had an album, they did a half a tour, and that was over. You know,
So a few other things about the show, just little tidbits. I don't know if you noticed that the episode titles, they're all classic rock songs.
Absolutely, 100%, beautiful. I noticed that immediately. Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. Another thing I thought was really cool, there's a scene, I forget which episode it is, the tour manager. Remember the tour manager, Timothy Oliphant? I don't know his name in the show.
Of course. He's he's a scene stealer. I was going to talk about the cast after, but Timothy Oliphant, I mean, I love that guy. I mean, anybody who's watched Justified, like that's like, he's the star of that show. And I've watched every season of that.
I haven't seen that show. But at one point, they have to go to a mechanic. I don't know if it's to fix the tour bus or whatever. I don't remember what. And, the mechanic is like, yeah, I'll get to your bus when I have time. But, they don't have time. So Timothy Oliphant offers the mechanic free tickets to a show, which, that's probably happened a lot those days and still now. And they show the tickets, and you can clearly see on the tickets, it says Ticketron, and it looks like those old tickets that we used to get when we used to go to concerts. So I don't know how they did that, but it's really cool that they were able to do that.
I do appreciate when producers of shows take the time to get a lot of details correct. Like, on the show, what I really liked here is on this show is when they perform on SNL, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It was like, well done. They even had like a fictional guest host, like some girl who was apparently famous, and like it was really well done,
It was really well done. So the main character, Daisy Jones, the actress is Riley Keough. So you probably know that Riley Keough, her mother was Lisa Marie Presley. And apparently Presley passed away less than 2 months before the first episode aired.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know. She's Elvis's granddaughter.
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing I read was before they began filming any episodes, the cast, they played a mini concert in character as a fictional band to a crowd of Amazon employees, friends and family, just to see what it feels like to be on stage and perform in front of an audience.
That's really cool. I mean, I thought look, there's three main characters like in the show, right? Like there's a lot of characters, but like it's Daisy Jones, it's Billy, played by Sam Claflin, and then Camilla, right? The Billy's wife.
Right.
I mean, and like it's really, the story is really like, it's weird because I read articles where they're saying, oh, it's a love triangle, but is it? Like, is it really? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I think the show was trying to convey that there was some kind of like crazy chemistry between Daisy and Billy, but like I didn't get that. Like I didn't get this crazy chemistry between them. I mean, they had this link. They had this super like this magnetic pull. Something's like joining them together because of like their creativity and their artistry and their musicianship, right? And songwriting and all this. But I don't know. Like I didn't buy the rest of it. Like I mean, they kissed once. That's as far as it went, right?
It was almost like a forced marriage, forced by Teddy Price, the producer.
Yeah.
It was almost like that. So, initially they wanted nothing to do with each other,
Right.
Like Billy's like, I know how to write songs. I know how to play songs. I don't need this girl. And she felt the same way. I don't need this guy.
Yeah. But Teddy saw like these two incredibly creative kind of musical geniuses in a sense, like these two amazing musicians, and like if they could get together they could, and I think that's what the show's getting at. When they're together and working together, they make each other so much better, right? Billy by himself wasn't working, right? Like it wasn't going anywhere. The Six as a band was like whatever, and she couldn't like find her voice either, right? But together all of a sudden it was kind of magical. So like I get that it's like there's a connection with them, musically, but the rest, I'm not sure. But I mean, Camilla to me is the star of the show. Like I think she's my favorite. Obviously, I mean, in the end with the reveal, it's ridiculous. Like, you know, she's the one that connects everything. But she's still the one that connects everything throughout all the episodes of the show. I mean, she's the one that actually brings Daisy in. She's like supporting Daisy when she's kind of like at the beginning where they're like, oh, they don't want her. Billy doesn't want her, and Camilla invites her over, and she sees that like what Daisy could bring out of her husband, you know, creatively, right? The other actors and actresses in the cast, like the rest of the band, they're fine. They're all fine, you know, like it's okay. There's like Graham and Karen, like the keyboardist and the guitar player who, you know, they show having a relationship. I mean, that's kind of a side story, but like there's a bunch of side stories. There's them, and then there's also Daisy's roommate Simone, who becomes like a disco queen, you know, whatever. Like all this was fine, but like whenever they were showing that stuff, I just wanted them to get back to the rest, because from the beginning of the show, they're telling you there's going to be something bad that's really going to happen. And you know something bad's really going to happen when they get to that Chicago concert, the final concert. Like, and you're like, the whole 9 episodes, you're like, can we get to it already? You know, like, can we get to it? You know, that at one point, you know, they go to Greece. Like she goes to Greece.
That was weird, actually. That whole episode.
Yeah. It was like, I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. But I mean, it's essential to the story because she gets married to this guy who's no good. And then, of course, she overdoses. And the overdose is actually the catalyst to her and Billy kind of reconciling, you know?
What I did like was at the end, and I don't know if it was the last episode or second to last episode, they show you where all the band members end up in life. So the keyboardist, Karen, she ends up in another band.
Yeah.
Because that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be in a band.
And then didn't they show that like the drummer was like this, you can correct me if I'm wrong, he became like this super session drummer. He was like a studio drummer that performed on millions of people's albums just like as a studio musician, you know, like I think.
I don't remember that. You could be right. But what I remember about him is he ends up with like a famous actress as his wife.
Oh, that's right.
He was actually one of my favorite characters because like when all the other band members are going through all this drama, he's just like, I'm in a huge rock band. We're crazy famous. We get paid to play music in front of audiences. He was like the happiest kid in a candy store is what he was.
He's like, why are we screwing this up? Like, can't we just keep going? Like, this is great. I'm living the dream kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh, and remember the other band member that they had in Pittsburgh that quit the band to become a dentist?
Yeah.
and then like they meet him again like a year or two later when he's now a dentist, and he's like saying to them, oh, so this is how much money you guys make. But I guess it's not that much money when you divide it by 6.
Right.
Like he's doing the math in his head.
Right. He's figuring it out.
So he's like trying to justify that he did the right thing becoming a dentist instead of staying with the band.
There you go. I mean, and they do show at the end that like when you're talking about where they ended up, they do show you that Daisy like became fairly famous as like her own as like an artist, right? She lives in this fancy house when the daughter, what's the daughter's name? Julia comes to see her at the end, you know, like you can see Daisy's like successful, right? You know, it's like she turned things around and everything. The other character that's great, and you mentioned him quickly, is Teddy Price, the music producer who puts them together. I would be remiss to not mention, like there's a Seinfeld reference in everything, right? So that's Mr. Morgan, you know, George's coworker.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even remember that, like until you just said it now.
You know that episode of Seinfeld where like he has to circulate the birthday card for everybody to sign?
Yeah.
You screwed me again, Costanza. So I just want to mention a couple of scenes that I thought were really good and maybe some that weren't great, you know. I really love the scene at the beginning of the series when Daisy is singing alone in this empty bar.
Playing the piano?
It's really, really well done.
Yeah.
I also liked, you know, when she confronts her ex-boyfriend at this pool party and she throws him into the pool. You know, the guy who like stole her song?
Yeah.
You know?
I'd be really pissed off if someone stole my song.
So they're showing you like you're not going to mess with her, you know, she's going to survive basically. And then really actually one of the best scenes is when like Daisy and Billy lock each other away to like write the songs, right?
Right.
Like the band and Teddy send them like go write the music, right? And then they come back and they present what they've written to the band and they start to play it. It's a really amazing scene when they're playing the songs and then the rest of the band are actually like joining in, adding to the songs. It's like the creative process, you know. That I thought was really, really well done. It was absolutely great. There's a good scene in the desert, you know, when Camilla takes the picture of them that ends up on the album.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, it's really like kind of summarizes the whole love triangle. You know, it's like she takes the picture of them two like face to face, right? And it looks like they're in love or whatever, and then it's like that's not it at all. They're actually arguing, and Camilla is like knows that there's this other woman in their life, right? That's interfering, and she knows it, and she's taking a picture of it, and it ends up on the album. You know, like it's just like the whole thing is like kind of crazy. You know.
There was a scene I really liked. I think it was episode 1 or 2 where Daisy Jones, she wasn't even called Daisy Jones at the time. She had a different name. She sneaks into a concert like by the back door. And
but she's like a teenager.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
But her name wasn't Daisy Jones yet.
No.
And so she sneaks into a concert like by the back door. It's her first time at a concert and she's not even like proper age to get in yet. And I guess it was her first experience, like experiencing live music. And you could tell like she was like in awe and that's how she fell in love with music.
Right. And then the final performance, like basically when the band breaks up, their last concert, like when it all kind of explodes and everything. That's really well done. You know, Daisy takes control because on stage and that's what she does. Right. And that gets the fans and everybody singing along. And I thought it was really good. It was what we wanted to see, right? This show is good at, like, I don't want to use like TV critic speak, you know, like lingo, but like gives you a lot of payoffs for the audience, you know, like you're waiting for something and then they give it to you, you know, so like you feel good, right? Yeah. Like no, all throughout the show, right? You're like, oh, Daisy, she's going through something, and then all of a sudden, like, yes, they meet up and they sing together. Oh, yes, she gets back at her. Like, there's a lot of like great moments where you feel good about what's gonna happen, about what's happening. Like you love watching how things are unfolding, and then of course the giant payoff, which we've already talked about, is the reveal at the end, which is just like absolute magic, you know, with Julia, the daughter, and when you find out, you know, that her mom passed away and that's why she did these interviews, and the purpose of it was actually to get Billy and Daisy to speak again or connect again. It was really like absolutely incredible.
What I also like, you don't notice this, but the first episode where the interviewer is interviewing Billy, one of the things he says to the interviewer is, did Daisy agree to do this also?
Yeah.
And you don't realize who's interviewing him, but yeah, so I thought back to that when they did reveal who the interviewer was.
Well, once you see the reveal, if you probably go back and watch all from the beginning, you probably notice a few things. The main one is, okay, first of all, Camilla's gorgeous. She's a beautiful woman.
So is Daisy.
And then, yeah, but then in the interviews, she's clearly older. They make a point of showing you that she's older, but you don't realize that she's not well, right? But if you watched it from the beginning, you might notice things. And then, of course, they show you at the end, she fixes her hair in the final reveal. She fixes her hair. She's wearing a wig. The whole hair is fake,
right?
And she's fixing it, and she's like, "I look ridiculous." And her daughter's like, "No, you look beautiful." You know, like I wonder if you watch from the beginning, knowing what you know now, you'd maybe key into that something's not right with her, you know? All right, are you ready to give your rating? I think the final episode, I give it 5 out of 5. I think it was brilliant. Overall, I give the show 4 out of 5 Auroras.
Okay. I give the show overall 4 out of 5 platinum albums.
Beautiful. I was really struggling to know like what to call the rating this time. So platinum albums is great. 4 out of 5. You can't go wrong with 4 out of 5 platinum albums.
Right, exactly. Okay, we'll be right back after this with some final thoughts.
You're listening to Unscripted.
Do you know John Hyatt songs?
Maybe you know them from being covered by Roseanne Cash, Three Dog Night, the Neville Brothers, Emmylou Harris, Eric Clapton, B.B. King, Jeff Healey, Bonnie Raitt, or literally hundreds of others.
Maybe you have some of his albums on your shelf or in your cow-horned Cadillac right now.
I'm Jesse Jackson,
And I'm Sylvan Brough.
and we're going to dive in from A to Z. Join us on the Perfectly Good podcast.
We're going to discuss all of your favorites and uncover some forgotten gems, from Aces Up Your Sleeve to Zero House.
Rate and debate every John Hyatt song on the Perfectly Good podcast. Have a little faith.
Unscripted with Skip and Josh is available wherever you listen to podcasts. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. To interact with the show, send an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. Follow the show on Twitter and go to Facebook to like the show page. And now, some final thoughts from the guys.
All right, Josh. I've got one final thought for you, but it's more of a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I have something big to ask you. I need you to do me a solid. Big favor.
Okay, I'm not going to buy you milk.
I've got a lot of gambling debts, maybe about $4 million. Could you give me your bank card with the PIN, or can you send me an e-transfer?
You know, I'm laughing because last night you sent me a screenshot of 2 bets that you placed, which I think you lost both of them, right?
Yes.
Now, luckily, you only spent, I think, $3 total on those bets.
Right. Like right now, my bets are just for fun. I bet $1 on something and I hope to win 10, you know? And then every 10 bets, I win $10. That lets me do 10 more bets. Like my balance on Bet365 has been the same thing for like a month. Like I you know, so.
I'm curious to know what would happen if you bet $1 on every Dodgers game this year, because I think they're going to win probably 100 games. So they're going to win roughly 40 more games than they lose. And I'm curious to know if you end up ahead or behind after the whole season.
You'd probably be ahead, but you'd probably only like very little amount of money. Like the Dodger games are going to be favored in most of their games.
Correct.
So it's going to be like 1.1.
Yeah.
You're going to win $1.10
Right.
for every dollar you bet.
Right.
You know?
Well, you're not going to win $1. You're just going to win 10 cents and your dollar back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in case people don't understand my question, I'm referring to this Shohei Ohtani business because I sent you a text earlier in the week about this Shohei Ohtani, and your answer to me shocked me. You are so like you really think he's lying and this whole thing's a cover up, and I'm like I don't care, you know, whatever.
I mean, I don't care, but like, you know, it's easy for him to go up there and make a statement and say that he's never gambled and he's never bet on baseball and whatever. But the truth is, you and I have no idea. Like, we have no clue. We may never know.
Of course.
And I know that there's an investigation going on. I don't know what's going to come of this. I don't know how easy or difficult it is to prove. But I mean, for him to have no knowledge of this until like that day during their first game in Korea, he finds out from someone, hey, your interpreter stole $4 million from you, or $4 million was transferred out of your account, and he had no knowledge of it. I find that a little hard to believe, because like if someone took money out of my account, I hope I'd know about it.
I thought the same thing because, like, okay, obviously these rich people, they don't manage their own money and they have no clue what's going on, you know, like with you think he knows about all his financials? No, he has people for that. But like $4 million, you know, like, and I know they say it was withdrawn in like 8 times or something, like eight transactions.
But still, that's
like,
a lot of money each transaction.
I know. I mean, like,
and like you can't just
I
go
don't
like,
know.
you know, transfer that kind of money. It's not like, you know, we use Interac in this country.
Yeah.
And I can send you money right now, but I couldn't send you $500,000.
As a matter of fact, e-transfer, well, I know for me, Interac e-transfer, it's a $3,000 daily limit.
Exactly. So it would take how many days for me to send you $4.5 million?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, you send it by Venmo? Like, I don't know. Like, is it a Venmo thing in the U.S.? like, what's going on? Like, did he?
I don't know.
The whole thing's nuts. And the other thing is that really makes me crazy. Like, the whole that I couldn't wrap my head around is. So he said he sent it to like a gambler, like he owes like a bookie, right?
Right.
Like, why do you need a bookie in 2024?
That's a good
there's
question.
Hundreds of gambling websites that are legal. You can do whatever you want. I do it like I just told you. I bet $1 on 3 games last night for March Madness. You know, like you don't need a bookie. Like you don't. Like I don't get it. You know,
I think
unless you're playing like underground card games. Is he playing poker in someone's basement in like a a cellar of a club? You know, an illegal card game. Like, does that even exist anymore? Like, I don't.
Now you're referencing the movie Rounders.
Yeah, exactly. Is Otani's translator? Is he like playing cards with Matt Damon? Like,
The only thing I can think of is, those gambling sites that you use, like DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever, they'll only accept like a certain amount. Like if you want to bet $1 million or even $500,000 on something, they probably won't take your bet.
That's true.
So that's the only reason why he might need a bookie. I don't know. But one thing I will say, a lot of the journalists that are reporting on this are saying, how can Major League Baseball and the NBA, because there's a scandal in the NBA going on right now too, which we'll get to. How can Major League Baseball and the NBA complain about their players gambling when they have gambling organizations as sponsors? So I think the two of those things have nothing to do with each other. This kind of thing, gambling on sports, happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, before FanDuel and all these other sites existed. So it's not because FanDuel is a sponsor of Major League Baseball that this is happening. It's because people want to gamble. That's why it's happening.
But this is the text that I sent you a screenshot of something that posted on Twitter. Welcome back to SportsCenter, presented by ESPN Bet. For more on the Otani situation, we go to our FanDuel MLB insider Jeff Passan at our DraftKings studio in Los Angeles, brought to you by Caesar Sportsbook. Like, this is the world we're living in now, right?
What's so funny about that screenshot you sent me, later that day, I went to play hockey with my friends, and a buddy of mine that I play with, he's like, "Have you seen this?" And he shows me his phone, and it was the exact same thing that you had sent me.
It's because it's very clever, and it's so true in that, like, they're outraged. Everyone's outraged by the threat of gambling. Meanwhile, all the sports are like literally letting you bet on in-game stuff. Like I could bet, like when I'm on Bet365, like last night watching March Madness, for real freaking degenerate gamblers who have a sick addiction, like they need help, I could bet on who's going to score next. Which team is going to score next? What will be the next? Will the next free throw be good or no good? Will the next three-point shot go in or not? Like, you can bet on ridiculous stuff that has nothing to do with anything other than, like, you want to feed your addiction. So I get that, like, the fear of the sports, of like the I guess it's like the stigma of like gambling, but like they're all linked in with these betting sites. All the sports leagues are like these are sponsors now,
So we didn't even talk about that guy in the Raptors. I think his name is Porter. He's probably never going to play another NBA game in his life. So I'm assuming you heard this story, right?
No, I don't know this. I thought you were going to tell me about Bickerstaff, the coach of Cleveland.
No, okay. So now I'm going to tell you because I referred to it a few minutes ago. So I should tell the story. So there's a guy on the Raptors, and I mean, he's a backup. He doesn't play very many minutes. I'm not sure if it's his first or second year in the league. I have no idea. And so there was a game like a month ago where he only played about 5 minutes, and then he came out of the game, said like he couldn't see or his eye was hurting him or something. I don't know what it was. And that game, someone had placed a huge bet on him getting like under 5 points. And because he only played 5 minutes, I think he only got like 1 point or 0.
Right.
So
and did they trace it back to him that he was involved in it?
There's an investigation happening now. It hasn't been traced back to him, but I'm 99% sure that he was involved. Like if it's not, it's someone that knows him, that knows someone, that knows someone, that knows someone, right? Now, if it only happened once, it might have been, you might be able to believe it. But then a month later, apparently it happened again where he said to the coach, like, my leg is hurting me. I can't play. So he pulled himself out of the game after 5 minutes. And again, that day, someone had bet like a huge amount of money on him getting the under. So
It's a problem.
So
It's
this
definitely a
guy,
problem.
so this guy's under investigation now. And in the meantime, he hasn't played. And I don't think he's ever going to play again.
But did you hear about the coach of the Cavs, Bickerstaff, who said that he was threatened? He got threatening phone calls from someone who placed money on a game and was mad at him because he took out the starters and then they didn't cover the point spread or something.
I did hear about that, which is, by the way, this is why if you're going to gamble, you should never gamble against the spread, because a team is trying to win. They don't care if they win by 8 or 10 or 20 or whatever. They're just trying to win the game. And if you're betting, like how many times does it happen in the NFL or the NBA where a team has a lead and they're like, okay, there's not much time left in this game. We have the lead. We're going to win. We don't need to pile on more points. And then some sucker who bet that you would cover the spread is now going to lose his bet because you didn't cover the spread. The team doesn't care about the spread. If you're going to bet, just bet who's going to win or lose.
Anyway, so you want to do a gambling episode next time? We could talk about gambling.
We should.
All right, Josh. Great talking to you about Daisy Jones and the Six. And send over that $4 million e-transfer as soon as you get a chance. I need it.
Will do, and have a great week.